The Dark Knight Rises picks up about 8 years after The Dark Knight, in which Batman took the blame for the death of Harvey Dent, so that Harvey Dent's sparkling career and example would serve to inspire the citizens of Gotham. In that time, after the death of Rachel, Bruce Wayne has kind of fallen off of the map. He's no longer going to any of his events, closed himself off to the world. Batman's been gone. Yet Gotham has been at relative peace and on a good upward climb, all because of Harvey Dent, all because of the lie perpetrated by Commissioner Gordon, Bruce Wayne, and everyone else who is involved. But a new bad guy is on the way in the form of Bane, one badass mercenary who's kidnapped a nuclear engineer. For what purposes, we don't know at first, only to find out later in the movie, and we're not going to spoil it. But with that basic plot line given, now Batman needs to rise once again to defend Gotham from the ne'er-do-wells and the evil people who would conspire to bring it down. Guys, what did you think of the movie's story first? Did you think it was a fitting end to the Nolan Batman trilogy? Were you pleased at all? Kind of give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I thought overall the story was pretty good. I thought at times it felt like it was a rehash of the first one. I thought it spent a little too much time personally on Bruce Wayne versus Batman, but overall, I thought it was pretty decent. I mean, I know Aaron, you and I kind of came away the first time that we saw it with very similar, I guess, critiques about it.
Yeah,
but you actually saw it a second time. What did you get anything else from it, or?
Well, the story, I got a lot more from the story the second time. I don't know if I was just because of my hype factor originally when I went and saw it, but I did not leave impressed at all. I probably would have rated it a lot lower when my initial viewing as opposed to my second viewing. But the story kind of seems like it drags, and it does drag a little bit. But it's got a lot of information in it, and a lot of it works when you actually stop and think about it, and you don't have so much hype. But I think after seeing Dark Knight, that story was so well put together and well focused. It's just a hard comparison, because I think one movie is just phenomenal and one movie is just good. Mm-hmm. That makes sense?
That's how kind of I was with the story too, because I came out of Dark Knight loving it so much and loving the story and just dripping with anticipation for this one. And when this storyline in this one didn't just blow me out of the water, I was disappointed. And that's not the film's fault. That's just a lot of my anticipation's fault of it.
But I think one of the reasons that the second film comes off so much better in so many ways has a lot to do with the Joker and Heath Ledger's performance as a Joker. It was just probably one of the best villainy characters that I've ever seen ever in a movie. And to try and follow that up is, even in the best of times, going to be a hard thing to do. Not to say that Bane's not good. He's just not the Joker. And so that is one area where I think the story kind of had a hard time keeping up with the second film in that character and in Heath Ledger's, acting of that character. But there had to have been characters or performances in this film that you liked quite a bit. So what are some of the characters and the performances of them that you liked, or maybe you didn't? What did you guys think of that, though?
I actually liked the character of Selina Kyle, played by Anne Hathaway. I thought she nailed the sauciness of the Catwoman character, especially in the first, literally, right? In the first, 20 or 30 minutes of the movie. I was skeptical when I first heard about Anne Hathaway playing that role, much like we were skeptical about Heath Ledger. Now, while she didn't bring that level of oomph, because it's just not possible, probably, but she sold me. I thought she was great. I enjoyed watching her on screen. She looked amazing in the suit. She's gorgeous anyway. I liked her a lot.
I like John Blake. I liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Mm-hmm.
His character, very cool arc. And it was interesting to see a regular guy thrown in the midst of all this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's so many people that are either superheroes or want to be superheroes, and here's just a regular guy just trying to do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
in this huge comic book flick, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And I liked Catwoman. Didn't love her, but I thought she did a really good job. I don't know. Most of the characters, the one that kind of annoyed me the most was probably Bruce Wayne, because there's just so much of him throughout the film. So he didn't really annoy me so much. It's just, at some point, it just be like, okay, we got it. We got your story. Mm-hmm. It's hard to really explain what irked me the most about that without going into spoilers, but it just irked me a little bit. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have seen the lively Christian Bale, not so much the solemn, oh, I ache Christian Bale of Bruce Wayne of this movie. So,
yeah, I personally didn't care for Catwoman or Selena Kyle for that matter, but I just kind of thought, generally speaking, her character you could have taken out of that movie, and you really wouldn't have lost much. But I think probably my favorite character, especially through the whole trilogy, is Michael Caine as Alfred.
Yeah, fantastic.
He brings that levity. I mean, the whole trilogy is so dark and gloomy, and he really kind of, between him and Morgan Freeman both, they really bring up the levity and the humor factor a little bit. So Michael Caine is one of my favorite characters in there.
He cried Alfred. A lot. He cried a lot in that movie. Seems like every scene he's in, he's just bawling.
Because he's a lying liar.
Yeah, I know. But he's not
lying liars cry.
He's not like thug balling. He's just balling.
Thug balling.
I liked Anne Hathaway's Catwoman quite a bit. Even though they never actually call her Catwoman in the movie, I liked her performance. I liked what she brought to the movie as far as a romantic element. She also brought in a different aspect of the criminal element in Gotham. If it wasn't for her lifting his prince, we wouldn't have the whole movie to begin with. So I think that her character did have some important parts to play in the film itself. And, I think that I would be remiss as a pervy dude if I didn't also say, though, that I think that the Academy should create a Best Behind award and in any film that, any year that doesn't have an underworld movie. And Kate Beckinsale would obviously be winning that. But Anne Hathaway is stunningly gorgeous in this movie. The Bat vehicle, since you don't really see the Batmobile in this, at least not driven by Batman, there's all sorts of new things that they created. Some really neat special effects. The music, once again, was there. So, do you guys feel like Christopher Nolan's direction and the film that he put together was worth your time?
I know we'll probably touch on this a little bit later with an email, but some of the inconsistencies, though, between the three movies is a little distracting. But as far as the individual movie itself, I thought, for the most part, it was pretty good. The score is top notch, as with the first two, and it really wasn't special effects heavy this go around. But the ones that were there was pretty good. So
I will say the one thing about Christopher Nolan, obviously he's an excellent director. He's made a lot of classic films already. I personally think Insomnia is a great movie that very few people appreciate. He does do a lot of continuity errors, and some of his continuity errors get really grating on me at some point. There's a chase, and it's fairly early, so I'm not really ruining anything. But there's a chase fairly early on that begins in the daylight. 5 minutes later, it's pitch black. No,
it's Gotham. The sun sets quickly.
The sun apparently just falls. It doesn't even set. It just drops like it's hot. And I don't quite understand how. I realize he has a mass production. I realize that he's got Final Cut and everything else. But at some point, there's nobody sitting by him going, "Hey, buddy, yeah, it wasn't dark like before they went down that tunnel. It was bright out, and now it's pitch dark." That's
a long tunnel.
It's a drastically long tunnel. I couldn't. That's one of the most glaring errors I've seen in a long time. And there's another one that's a little later in the film that I can't really say without explaining. But let's just say that if you see the film, there's people that should be dirty and unshaven, and they are not. So when you see it, you'll totally understand exactly what I'm talking about. But it's a big continuity error. Outside of that, great director. I think this film, he was a little Peter Jackson-esque in terms of he doesn't know when to trim the fat.
Yeah.
He could have condensed it a little bit, but the effects, the score, the direction, outside of a few things and some trimming of about 20 minutes of the movie, I thought, what excellent job.
All right, guys. Well, what are your final scores for this film? And overall, as a trilogy, do you think this is the most? It's probably a foregone conclusion, but do you think this is really the definitive Batman series of stories?
Yes, I would say. I don't see any way you top it. They're going to have to go another direction. I don't know. I mean, there's several different ways they could go with after the ending of the film, but I don't know how they're going to do it. I would prefer that if they did continue in this real world atmosphere, because I think it's really worked for this character. I don't really want to see a bunch of I don't want to see the Penguin ever again or any of that shit, but you can continue with doing like a Riddler or something. And I thought the series came to a great conclusion. It felt like a whole story being told. I thought it was a little bloated, took a little longer to get there than I would have liked. But I really liked how it ended. And the movie does a great job of tying everything up. So if everybody is concerned that you're going to go see the movie and you're going to sit through this 19-hour film or however long it is, 2 hours, 45 minutes, and you're going to get to the end and then they don't wrap things up, they do. The story gets wrapped up pretty nicely. Not necessarily a happy ending, not necessarily a bad ending. I mean, it's just very well done. Mm-hmm. So the conclusion itself changed a lot of my opinion of earlier pieces of the film. So I give it, because there was a lot of slow moments, I give it 7.5 out of 10.
I feel the same way about the tying of the loose ends at the end. They did it, wrapped it up in a very nice bow and satisfying bow. I felt that each of the individual stories kind of got a resolution. Whether happy or sad, there was an ending to it. With some really good just wrap-ups for the characters. Like Aaron said, I also felt it was a little slow in some spots, but I've only seen it the one time. I am going to be having a second viewing of it, but as of right now, I'd still pay a full $8 out of $10 to see it.
Wow. I'm going to be the hater. So somebody's got to keep the balance of the universe here.
Okay.
So
taking Aaron's job.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
The first time I saw it, I would have gave it a 6. I saw it the second time and I brought it up. Honestly, that's the honest truth.
Yeah, and I really would like to see it again. I did see the midnight show. I didn't get a nap or anything, so I was probably a little bit tired, and it probably made
cranky.
A little bit. Probably made the slower dragging parts feel like they were a little bit longer than they actually probably were. But until then, I've still got to give it a 6. I thought there was too much crybaby Bruce Wayne and not enough Batman, and I didn't like Catwoman. The overall series, I would still give it, probably a solid 8 or 8.5. But as far as the individual movie, right now, I've just got to give it a 6. I don't know why. Batman's he's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, comic book character. I just didn't get into this movie.
All right, Justin.
I'd have to give this one an 8. Overall, I think that the series is incredibly successful in what they're doing. I would like to actually see if they ever did other ones. I'd go the complete opposite direction of you, Aaron. I've seen them do the gritty real world version. While I don't want them to return to the Joel Schumacher type of comic book bullshittery, I would like to see him go up against villains that can't be beaten just by a device or something maybe a little more mystical. Who knows? But yeah, I love the series overall. I'd have to give the series a 9 out of 10. Really enjoyed seeing all 3 of them back to back in IMAX.